Hey there, everybody. Pete here from Comic Book Geezers. Welcome to another episode of Inside the Cover. My co-host extraordinaire over here, as always.
Hello, gang. I'm Wild Bill, the Unknown Comic. Thanks for coming back for another episode of Comic Book Geezers. Apparently, you guys think we're the greatest comic book talk show on the internet. We thank you guys for that.
Cool, I think, right? Hey.
Yeah, I just had to put that out there and say thank you guys for saying
that. They said it, not us, right?
They did. Yeah. I'll tell people, but they'll think I'm just an egomaniac. But we
love the good words, folks. We really
like comics, and we're glad that you guys too. That's what this is all about. So we're going inside the cover. Pete's going to kick it off with another one of his old Thor books here.
Yeah, this is a recent acquisition of mine, and it's an oldie. It's a goodie. It's from July 1963. This is one of the older books in my collection, actually. This is a Journey into Mystery.
So it's the
94.
first year of Thor.
Yes.
It started with issue 83. Here we are with 94.
Yeah, so early
11th
stuff.
Issue.
Yeah, I just got this. It's in really good condition considering how old it is. And it's a Jack Kirby cover. So again, I'll read the cover. Nice. So the cover totally foreshadows what's going to happen here. This is before it turned into Thor. It was still called Journey into Mystery. So any man who lifts his hand against Loki will have to battle Thor as well.
Do you know what issue when they switched it to Thor? So like 114, 104, somewhere in there in the early 1-teens, right?
Yeah, it was. I think right before. Jesus, you might 111 maybe. I'd have to research.
It's in the 1-teens, right?
Yeah, it's the really early 1-teens. Yeah.
Trivia question for you guys.
There you go. See mighty Thor and evil Loki unite to battle the human race as the Marvel Comics group ushers in the Marvel Age of Comics. How many times did they overplay that, huh?
Yeah.
And then you got Loki in his little bubble saying, I've succeeded in making Thor think I'm his friend, but when he's served his purpose, he shall be my next victim. So that foreshadows everything that's going on here. And Bill is going to be very happy to know that this entire issue was drawn exclusively art and inks by Joe Sinnott.
Nice.
So if you look, that totally looks a little different, right? I mean,
totally show that page.
Like yeah, so here we have...
So he's the artist?
Yes, he did all the art in here. Inks and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Kirby must have been busy with something else.
Yeah, I guess so,
Spider-Man,
right?
no.
Yeah. Stan Lee and R. Burns on plot and script, and Sam Rosen on lettering. But otherwise, this is all Joe Sinnott. And it looks... I mean, the art here is very different from the standard Kirby art. But you'll see, a lot of the... I don't know, kind of the definition that Joe gave to Kirby's art is evident here, but it's missing that otherworldly flair that Kirby did. And if you look, I mean, this is 1963. This is very old school art. This is kind of like the
50s style.
The 50s style, the funny books, what they used to call it, right? That it's very evident here. But we met Joe Sinnott. We interviewed Joe Sinnott. He told us one of his favorite characters to draw was Thor, as well as the Thing.
Thing was number 1. Thor was number 2.
Yeah. So here, the first page, look, Loki, by a slight pressure of my little finger, I can topple the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Run for your lives. Thor is no longer humanity's protector. He has joined forces with evil Loki to destroy mankind.
Oh, great.
Right? So here we have, it kind of sets up the whole story. So for those who followed the early issues here, there's Loki in the bottom. He's in prison. He's chained up on Asgard, obviously because he keeps meddling in the business of the Asgardians and
Interloper.
Yeah, so, Odin and Thor imprisoned him, right? But, of course, he still has this ability to kind of manipulate things from wherever he is, even if he's, in prison. So what he does, and this is, the craziest thing ever, he basically, so he causes this missile to go out of control over the Earth's atmosphere, of course. And then what happens, the NASA and whatever, the government, the military pick up on that, and they call Thor. They send out a message to Thor. Help, you got to come take care of this. So Thor is Don Blake. He gets the message. He changes into Thor, and he goes racing towards this thing, which then turns into a giant creature, right? So it was this missile that Loki turns into a giant creature. Thor goes and takes his hammer, Mjolnir, and throws it at the creature. It seems to kill the creature and bounces back, and what does it do? It hits Thor in the head. So his hammer hits him in the head.
So he didn't catch it right.
So he didn't catch it right. But this is the wacky thing. Okay, so here, it is some supernatural menace. I'm striking an illusion that now assumes the appearance of a cloud, and then from around comes the hammer, hits him right behind the ear. So Loki goes, my diversion worked. Of course, he's able to watch this from...
he's off watching.
Yeah. Thor clutches his head in agony as he reaches out for the hammer, which bounces off his helmet. That means I timed the incident so perfectly that the hammer hit his chromosomatic gland, which determines and changes personality. I'll soon see whether Thor's nature has changed from good to bad due to the blow on the head. I'll contact him mentally. Thor has undergone a total change of personality. He's obeying the idea I put into his head to fly to Asgard and rescue me.
Kind of like a parallel to amnesia. Hit yourself in the head and become a different person?
I mean, first of all, the chromosomatic gland.
Chromo?
So apparently if you hit this gland, you automatically, your personality totally changes. If you're a really good person, you change into a really bad person.
Chromo for cranium?
Right.
Okay. I like these scientific
Right, so
words.
only Loki would come up with this, right? So, of course, Loki, you know, he's hit, the hammer hit Thor right in the right place. So now he goes to Asgard, yes.
This is the first time I'm ever hearing about Thor not catching his hammer.
I know,
it's
right?
Like someone hitting themselves in the head with their
surprised
chucks.
him. It really surprised him, right? I'm like, well, I mean, as I found out in reading and buying some of these really early Thors, they're really corny.
Yeah.
It's amazing the shift that would happen with this book in not too long, like in the early...
65, 66, it was totally different, right?
Yeah, but even so, this was issue 94. But in the early 100s, already you're seeing these advanced storylines and the character really changing. Here, this stuff is pretty corny. So here he gets to Asgard. He sees Heimdall, who of course you know is the watcher of the bridge there, and he goes and just plows through Heimdall. Right, because he's going to find Loki. He finds Loki and he takes the chains off of him. Now you are free, loyal brother. Like he doesn't, because now in addition to the fact that his personality's changed. He totally forgot, like you brought the amnesia, he totally forgot that he's the one who imprisoned him and all the stuff that he did. So now
Loki did that to get...
Right, so Loki's in his brain, and so apparently he changed from good to bad, he forgot everything he did before, now Loki's telling him what to do. I'm like, boy, that little gland, that chromosomatic gland.
All because of that whack from the hammer, but now Thor is Loki's ally.
Yes.
And he's setting him free out of prison.
Right, so of course, who shows up? But Odin, and Odin's like, what are you doing? And he's like, you can't take this scoundrel out of here. Obviously, you're forgotten. But, you know, Odin, because he's omnipotent, right? And he's all-knowing, he senses that there's something going on. So, but here, this is interesting. So he goes to start strangling Loki, and then Thor brushes his father away. And then, you know, then Loki's like, well, you know, you should know by now, Odin, that Thor is your better in power and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking that was never the case afterwards. So obviously, there's some in the early days of the whole Thor storylines here, something's going on.
So Loki's already pitting Thor against Odin.
Absolutely. So what they do, so, you know, basically Loki and Thor are both saying, you know, together we are more powerful than everybody on Asgard. We're going to go down to Earth, to Midgard, and we're going to wreak havoc and destruction and take over the place, right? So that's what they do. So Odin lets them go. They go back down to Earth, and here's where it gets absolutely crazy. So disaster strikes in every corner of the globe. You see earthquakes and volcanoes erupting and building. Why has Thor done this to us? We thought Thor was a friend of humanity, not its enemy. What have we done to anger the mighty Thor, right? So this is hilarious. So then this whole page here is like a scene out of a disaster movie. So here Thor destroys the Eiffel Tower, he destroys the Golden Gate Bridge, he destroys the Panama Canal. One by one he goes to all the monuments.
Panama Canal
destroys everything, right? Everything. So the people are just, you know, flocking. What are we going to do? The Leaning Tower of Pisa, he knocks over all the way at the bottom. So basically, you know, Loki is like, you know, he's got the magical powers. He brings sea serpents in. They turn the pharaohs in ancient Egypt to
the Sphinx.
The Sphinx to the pharaohs. Yeah, the Sphinx living. They bring dinosaurs back to life. I mean, all this. So basically, they're just wreaking havoc like we've never seen before.
Dinosaurs back to life.
Right. But then they encounter these like 5 guys, and they portray themselves as emissaries from the UN, the United Nations, because they also attack the UN building here.
Okay.
And so you got guys from all different countries. You know, you got someone from the Middle East, you got someone from Europe, you know, whatever, from the Far East, and they're trying to talk sense into these 2 guys. Then what happens? Thor, they show up at the United Nations, Thor and Loki, and they're basically talking about how can we contact, you know, so they ask him, how can we contact the omnipotent Odin? And Thor goes, only an immortal can summon the kings of the gods. It will require a signal, and the most fitting signal of all will be the destruction of the UN emblem which stands behind me. So when he goes to do that, a little hatch in the floor opens up, and Thor falls in. And he somehow drops his hammer. A trap door, but he drops his hammer. We've never seen that before, but okay.
But so doesn't it return to him? Or does he have to throw it?
You would think so.
You would think if he dropped it, it should be no big deal. It should come right back to him.
Right. So he goes to fall. He goes, oh! And the hammer falls, and Loki's like, what the deviltry is this? Thor has been taken by surprise. His hammer returns, but he cannot catch it. Now the hammer hovers over the place where Thor has fallen. But how? Why? Who is controlling it? So that's this last panel right here. And Thor, of course, is falling to the trap door.
And that doesn't make any sense because the hammer comes back to him. It's
right.
supposed to have that boomerang effect, but it's not happening here.
Well, it does now. So now the hammer does go, follows him into the hole that he just dropped in, and of course hits him in the skull, the same place that it hit him the first time.
So now he's cured?
So now he's cured, and you know why? Because these guys that said that they were UN ambassadors, they are actually Odin and some of his merry men in disguise.
Oh.
And so Odin apparently still can control Mjolnir if he wants to. So then he gets his... So then Thor gets his right mind back. He gets his hammer back, and what does he do? He slings it at Loki and nails him in the head. Out for the count. Back to Asgard you go. End the story. Right?
I got to back you up just 2 seconds there. You said Odin can control Mjolnir?
Apparently here he can.
It's good to know. I never knew that. I just wanted to drive that point home.
Yeah, and so
learned something.
Here's the clinker. So I just told you how they destroyed all these monuments and all this stuff.
Now
so
they're
now
going to fix them?
He goes, "Forgive me, people of Earth, for the destruction I wrought while under Loki's spell. We gods of Asgard vow with our supernatural powers to repair all the damage done to your planet. Everything shall become once again as it was." And then Odin says, "And the memory of these events shall be erased from the minds of men."
Wow.
And so Loki is back to being imprisoned, and that is that. And then, but there's more. So we get a couple of, because it's a short story.
The second story, right?
Well, now we get these other totally random stories.
Well, I thought there was going to be Tales of Asgard.
That comes a little later on. So here's a story by Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, and Art Simic called Dinner Time on Deimos. This is completely ridiculous. So here you
comic book filler?
Oh, my God. So here it's a story of this guy. What the hell is his name? It doesn't even matter his name. Laird Benedict is his name. That's this guy. So he is this rich dude, right? So Laird, yeah, L-A-I-R-D, Laird. Yeah.
Instead of lard.
He's more like a lard, but Laird Benedict, and he's a millionaire. So it says here, you are looking at the future, a mixed blessing of space travel, world peace, and overpopulation. What with people living longer, there's hardly enough food to go around nowadays. That's why everyone on Earth must work on a farm 1 day a week, helping to grow crops.
Okay.
And this guy, rich millionaire, he's like, I'm not doing that. I don't want to go. I don't want to work. I refuse to toil like a common peasant, even though it's only 1 day a week. If I can't live without working here on Earth, then I'll leave. I'll find another fertile planet where I can eat all I want without having to labor for my food. So this guy, he's a millionaire.
He's lazy.
Climbs up on a spaceship and just starts flying around the galaxy looking for another planet that's suitable.
Farm is hard, but it ain't that tough.
The last planet was a freezing 400 degrees below zero, and this one is a hot, airless desert. Finally, the remote sector of the galaxy comes upon a world called Deimos. It has an oxygen atmosphere, temperate climate, and it's loaded with lush crops. It'll be perfect for me. So he lands on this planet, walks out.
He doesn't have oxygen.
No oxygen. He's got his suitcase packed, though. He's like, hey!
Forgot about there's no air in space. It's a vacuum.
So he sees all this lush vegetation. Like, look at all this food. Great. I got plenty to eat, whatever. Then of course, the plants start attacking him.
Oh.
So he's like, because of course. He goes, it's moving. It grabbed my arm. It's trying to seize me. Now the other vegetables, they're all moving too. They're all swaying towards me. They've uprooted themselves. They're pursuing me. I've got to get away. Mustn't let them trap me. They're actually running after him. So he goes, he finds a cave, and he finds these weird-looking Martian dudes. And they basically tell him, of course, you knew this was going to end this way, those crops aren't vegetables. They're a hostile form of plant life. They're always attacking us. We have to constantly be on alert to avoid them. If you don't eat the plants, then what do you use for food here? Where can I buy some? I'm famished.
They're cannibals?
Money is worthless here. No.
Money is worthless.
We have a severe food shortage. Nothing but beans to eat, and only those who grow them 8 hours a day are entitled to eat them. And then...
That's more work.
Then the Deimosians, being kindly folk, offer to share their meager lot with the stranded Earthman, provided he earns his beans. What a fool I was. I selfishly complained about working 1 day a week on Earth, and now I have to labor from dawn to dusk every day to earn my meager meal of beans. Sob, I can only hope that someone on Earth will miss me and come looking for me to take me home. If they do, I vow never again to complain about honest toil, for I've learned that in the galaxy there is a universal law. Rich man or poor man, whatever one wants, one must earn.
What happened to his spaceship? He can't get back on it and come home?
Who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? They never touch on it again. I'm like, all right, that's crazy. So, but wait, there's another one. So, kind of keeping the same idea of asshole humans, right? So, here, the gentle old man. So, this tells the story of this greedy landlord named Greedy Grundy, okay? And this is done by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, right? So here you got this greedy Grundy landlord who owns a bunch of houses and stores, and he rips everybody off. He doesn't give them any kind of break if something happens to them. They can't pay their rent on time. You either pay it on time or I kick you out. So, you know, they really play up what an asshole he is right off the bat. And then he's got this storefront for rent, which is a disaster. It's in shambles, all destroyed, and he can't rent it to anybody. But he sees this guy standing outside the storefront, an old guy. He goes, the only store I've never been able to rent is that one. I couldn't get anyone to stay in there if I gave it to him for free. Say, that little old geezer is looking at it if he's interested. If it isn't possible, and yet... So he takes him inside. He goes, oh, it needs a little bit of work, whatever, you know, but I think we can make it work. So the guy's like, you know, I forgot to ask how much the rent is. He goes, I ought to pay him for staying here, but what can I lose? I'll ask a ridiculously high price and they'll let him argue me down. He goes, I'm asking $100 a month. Very well, I'll take it. Here's a month's rent in advance. And the landlord's like, whoa. He goes, he must be nuts. But I better get all I can out of him. I'll have to think fast. Then he goes, I forgot to tell you, I didn't include the heat, water, light, and tax. The full price is $200 a month. And the old guy's like, very well, here you are. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some unpacking to do. So, of course, this is classic Ditko right there. Look at that face. He's like, I mean, look at that.
Yeah, he's lighting up.
Oh, yeah, he goes, I can't believe it. He's the answer to a landlord's prayer. If he hands out money so easily, there must be lots more where this came from. I'll be keeping my eye on that geezer. So the next day, he sees him moving stuff in, and he notices the tenant is putting all these, like, dolls all over the place. Like these little dolls. So he goes, what are you doing with all those dolls? You got some grandchildren staying with you? And he goes, oh, no, these dolls are mine. They are my business. Aren't they lovely? You may look at one if you wish. And he goes, say, they're terrific, perfect to every last detail. But if you want to sell them, you ought to put them in the window where people will see them. He goes, goodness, I would never sell these. None of them for sale. I told you they are mine. I'm a collector. And he's like, you're a nut, pal, but I'm going to make you pay off before I'm done. So he gets this idea in his head that he's going to go in, of course, and steal them and try and sell them.
Who, the landlord?
The landlord, of course. Oh, he's a total scumbag. So he goes in the middle of the night, he goes to break in, and of course, you know, he enters in, and the old guy wakes up, and he's grabbing all the dolls. He goes, I thought I heard something. Who's there? Why, it's Mr. Grundy. How nice of you to come see me. Huh? Nice of me? He goes, yes, you saved me the trouble. You see, I was going to visit you in the morning. Don't try and outsmart me, Gramps. And he's got a gun. He goes, you know I came here to steal your dolls, and I'm going to see to it that you never get a chance to tell anybody. See? And he goes, Mr. Grundy, you can't shoot me. Right?
I'm a doll.
Don't kid yourself. I'd do anything to anybody if it meant to make a few bucks. Then when I say you can't shoot me, I meant it is impossible for you to do so. Go ahead, try it. He goes, I can't move. I can't pull the trigger. He goes, I told you. I was a collector, didn't I? But I neglected to tell you what I collected. I was telling the truth when I said I was going to visit you in the morning, for it is now time for me to complete my collection. Oh, forgive me, you cannot speak. There must be so many questions you are anxious to ask. Well, you shall learn the answers very soon. And finally, later, much later in the distant future, he's showing off to someone his collection. And what does he have? A greedy landlord doll, right? So he basically collects like evil people.
He turns them into the dolls.
Yep. I accomplished my mission. My collection of the most heartless men of the past from all walks of life needed only one more thing. A landlord from the 20th century. And now my collection is complete. End of story.
Nice.
And then, of course, you got to have the Dynaflex guy, right? And looking for people to draw? Absolutely.
Wow.
So, there you have it.
Rockwell.
Yes. So, Journey to Mystery number 94. A very, I mean, this is like old school stuff.
That is.
I mean, really.
3 stories in one comic.
3 stories in one comic. Nothing too serious. Very lighthearted stuff. There's always like these meanings behind everything back then.
Very cool.
Yeah. There you have it. But a classic. I mean, you know, this is a pretty sought-after book right here, and I'm happy to have it. It's in great condition. I was amazed at, you know, how good this is. So there you have it. Journey to Mystery, Early Thor, number 95 or 94. Sorry.
Nice job.
Thanks for watching another episode of Inside the Cover. I am Pete. Stay tuned.
I'll drink to that.
That's right. Do want to mention we've had a lot of people asking for us to do a series of shows on horror and monster comics to celebrate the month of October and Halloween. We're going to do a whole bunch of Inside the Cover episodes on horror and monster comics from our collection. You've probably seen a lot of the covers over the last couple of years, but we're going to
do some of the insides.
We're going to do the insides. So stay tuned for all throughout October, Inside the Covers. So we got, all sorts of different monster comics, and we'll look at Tomb of Dracula and Man-Things and Werewolf by Night, Frankenstein. I mean, we're gonna all the anthology issues and stuff like that. So we'll be picking out some of our favorites and taking a deep dive look into those inside the covers.
I'm Wild Bill saying thanks for being here. Please click the like button and the notification bell so you'll be kept in the loop every time we got a video. And as always, thanks for being here. And please tell your friends if they like comics that they need to check out Comic Book Geezers. I'm Wild Bill and Pete. Say thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.